All right, hi there. So we are on the open response section of our Learning Target 1.3, the midpoint and segment bisector. So you'll still have out your notes, and this time everything is open response, very similar to the front. So we're going to walk through some of the problems, but these will be a little less guided so that you can show me what you know. So the first part we're talking about in this diagram here, M is the midpoint, okay, of this segment. So we will write the equation in terms of x. So then solve the equation and find the indicated length. So we want to find, so our equation in terms of x, so we just have to find out x equals. That will be our solution. And then we want to find the whole length. So this is just like the last one we did on our multiple choice section, the gridded response, where we have quite a few steps to solve for x. And then we need to find a total length, which means we need to double our answer once we plug it back into one of the sides. So the first thing we need to remember is this and this side are equal to each other. So we will set that up accordingly. And then we will solve for x. This one does not have an x squared, as you notice, so there will not be any factoring. This is a basic one where we set these equal to each other. X plus 6 equals 3x, just getting you started. And then remember, we are going to end up taking variables all to one side. You can hold your place with a 0 and then solve and tell me what x equals. And then you go back in and you plug in whatever you get for x. So when you get x equals, you have to take this number and you have to plug it back in to either side, it does not matter, or both sides and add them together. So you can do 3 times whatever x is, and then just remember, since we want the whole length, you need to double it. Or you can plug it into x plus 6 and add it to 3 times whatever x is. It's however you want to do it. All right, 15, the endpoints of RS are given. So we're given 2 endpoints. So again, just a refresher, we know in order to find the coordinates of the midpoint, we use our midpoint formula. So that is x1 plus x2 all over 2, and then y1 plus y2 all over 2, and then you divide by it. So just a reminder, before you start plugging these in and using your calculator, just label these just in case so you don't get confused. This is x1 because it's the first x we see. This is y1 because it's the first y we see. This is x2 because it's the first, or it's the second x I see, and this is y2 because it's the second y I see. And just be careful. So go ahead, your x's, add them together, divide by 2. What's your new x coordinate? And then your y's, you add them together, divide by 2, and you give me the new y. You can circle your answer or you can put it on the line. All right, number 16. So this one is very similar to 10 on the multiple choice section. When we are given the midpoint and one endpoint, this is where we need to find the coordinates of the other ones. So M is for midpoint. So this is what we set it equal to. So I kind of just, it doesn't matter what you call it. You can just call it your X and your Y. I like to then name this one X1, Y1. And what we're essentially looking for is X2 and Y2. So as you recall, we use our formula up here. And then we don't know the x2, so that's what we leave blank. And and then we set it equal to whatever the x is. So just getting you started, we know that x1 is -1, and we're going to use this formula, and we're going to add it to, we don't know what x2 is, so leave that as like your unknown. We divide it by 2, and then this is where we use the midpoint x. We are going to set it equal to 3. So this is our special case where when we go to solve for this missing x2, it doesn't matter what you call it, you can just put a question mark there, but we have to get rid of this divided by 2 first by multiplying both sides by 2 and then solving the equation. And then you get your new x. And then remember, you're going to do the same thing for the y coordinate, except for we're going to say it's our y1 plus our unknown, which is, we'll just call it y2. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can just call it y. You can leave a question mark, but again, it's divided by 2, and then we set it equal to our midpoint y. So that's this one. We set it equal to 7. And we do the same thing as we did over here. We have to remember that special case when we have this big long division. We have to get rid of that first, and then your new y once you solve. Okay, last one, 17. So in the diagram, M is the midpoint. We are going to write an equation in terms of x and then solve the equation. So this is like number 12 on your multiple choice section, and I do see that there's an x squared. So I know when I go to solve this, I am going to end up with a trinomial and have to factor. So you can look at any of your factoring examples like this when we set it up. I'm going to do a little less of setting up for this one because I did 12 with you on the multiple choice section, and I gave you a lot of hints. So if you want to go back to that video and watch that one, it's very, very similar. But just starting out, remember, we have x squared plus 6, and we know it is equal to 3x plus 18. We have to move everything over to the other side, and you will get a trinomial, and you can make it equal 0 and not worry about that for that part. And then you have to factor, after you get the trinomial, you have to factor. You have to factor and then find the 2 roots and pick the one that is not negative when you solve it. Be very careful. So then that's your answer for x. And then remember to find MB. It wants you to plug it back in actually to this side, and it wouldn't really matter because we know they're equal. So whatever x is, you're going to plug it back in and do 3 times x, whatever it is, plus 18. That gets you the final one. So that is it for our open response portion of the 1.3 target.